Díomh a chuirde tá fáilte roimh Ránóna chuig an talach gunta an chlár is mis seánna gáhín. You're very welcome to Leavingcertirish.com agus seo an rang bunathe ar an seo an ceathrú rang bunathe ar an Tuise Gramadach agus na scileanna atá gceist an Tuise Gramadach. For anyone who hasn't been here before, you're very welcome. My name is John Gavin and this is the I suppose fourth in a series of lessons looking at fourth in a series of 5 lessons looking at on Tuise Gramadach. First of all, Deuce, is everyone able to hear me? Someone might just in the chat as usual let me know if you can hear me all right. I just have a small little issue with my webcam today. There's a setting after changing. The hertz setting is after changing, so I won't be using it much more after this. You'll see it's kind of waving away there in the background, an issue to do with the light, the LED lights I have. I restarted the machine just this morning to refresh it, and of course the usual thing, the setting changed, and I discovered that a few minutes ago, so unfortunately the video isn't going to work the way it should. But anyway, we won't be spending much time on the video. So Tasul Gum Gwich Gama. Hopefully you're well, hopefully everyone in your family is well. This is the 19th lesson that we've done since March 18th, and these Murguts a bit low in volume, perhaps. Well, my volume setting doesn't change, so maybe you might be able to just let me know what that is. I'm not sure. Okay, so some people are used to the settings and would know what it is. So hopefully the sound is okay. Just possibly turn up whatever you need. All right. So we'll get cracking here, guys. Today's lesson, as I've said, is Bunathe ar an Tuise Gramadach and Ceathrú Díochlaonadh. And this is one that really catches a lot of people out. I'm not sure why. I think it's down to the fact that because there are so few changes to the noun that people end up not actually knowing how it has come about. They expect a change with an Tuise Gramadach always. And that's not the case, and you're just about to find out why that is. Just for those who are subscribers, you'd know that we've a wonderful essay put together on Ceist na Deafach, which is the issue or challenge surrounding refugees. It's an international focused essay, not just in Ireland. So that's a really top class H1 level essay that's been put together. There's the first couple of lines as an example for those who haven't seen it. It and many other resources, of course, available to premium subscribers. We also have the Cult Scara sample from 2015 in there since last week. And again, another top class tutorial and sample answer for people. For anyone who doesn't know, you can access all of this by coming into courses.leavingcertirish.com, and if you take a look at the course there, you'll see that we're adding new material every single week, and we'll continue to do so up until the beginning of June. So that's how you get the notes, guys, for anyone who doesn't know how to do it. Of course, these lessons are free to view on YouTube afterwards. All right, if you haven't been here before, on Havdach or Fad, very important to just quickly refresh. One of the critical elements of an Tuise Gramadach is knowing what to do in the case of a consonant, what to do in the case of a vowel when you're dealing with masculine and feminine nouns. And this, again, this chart I always bring up, it's a quick summary. Very simply, if it's a consonant in its normal situation, on far, there's no H. If it's masculine, that's why the blue. On tassel, the donkey, it has a T hyphen if it's a consonant begins, T hyphen if it begins with a vowel. Consonant that's feminine. On van, very simple. And gutta on I'm sure there's nothing before it. In the Tuise Gramadach, all that reverses around. Crucially, hata on ir, da on asil, hata na mana on goes to na, right? And then Revash Nation Heimshire. So we have to know those basic grooves. If you haven't gone through them, go back to our basics lesson, which was early on in the series. Okay, let's get cracking on to the main thing today. So on Ceathrú Díochlaonadh, the fourth declension, there are 5. A Díochlaonadh, again, don't forget, is a gathering of words, nouns that have similar properties, essentially. Similar changes in the case of Tuise Gramadach is what we're talking about. So there are 5 Díochlaonadh, to Cuig Díochlaonadh going, agus tá an Ceann seo bunar an Ceathrú Díochlaonadh. So Tá cuideach na hanamachil, the nouns associated with this declension. Tá cuideach ferinchganach, some are masculine, agus cuideile có buinchganach. So some are masculine, some are feminine. Creekni and Shadar, I for the end. So this is the bit that gets really important, guys. Trying to identify something that helps you remember declension. If you remember, we were looking at on K Díochlaonadh, we were referring to the first declension by the letter I, if you remember, symbolizing that it gets slender. Second declension, we were saying it's represented by E. Third declension, represented by A. And then this one, the fourth declension, represented by Fada N. So trying to remember a noun associated with each one is very, very important. So cuideach, some of them finish on I for N. So that's why I picked this one. There's a great example we'll see in a few moments. The next one then is Creekni and Galorico are got to freshen. A lot of them finish on a vowel. Now, you're going to see as we go through some of the examples, an awful lot of them finish on a vowel. And that's a bit of a giveaway in many cases. And then the final, and cuideach, ferinchganach is cuideach buinchganach. So some are masculine, some are feminine. So that can be a bit of a trick to figure out. And then the final bit, Creekni and Reintacha are consonants. Some of them finish on a consonant. So it's not just as simple as say a lot of them finish on vowels, which they do. But if you see all these, Anam, Bus, Master, Shek, Club, Anra, any of these, they all finish on a consonant. So while an awful lot of them finish on a gutta, or gutta, on a vowel, an awful lot of them finish on a consonant. So there is what we would call a mix and gathering here of every kind of consonant, vowel, masculine, feminine. You've got everything going on. All right. But we'll simplify it a little bit now. We'll go through the lesson. So, Lynn. So, feic midish chúpla sampla. So, sampla hen atá gum tosim le ifaden, quinine. I start with ifaden because that's the letter, or that's the ending that we're kind of trying to refer to here. We're trying to remember everything by. So, quinine, it's masculine noun. In its genitive singular, there's no change. Now, what you're going to see, and this is where the confusion normally is, Joseph, this is higher level. Sorry, just a question came in there from Joseph. This is higher level, very much. Okay. The next one, so an tishel anamnach, tan quinin egre. In the nominative case, tan quinin egre. As you can see, it's a masculine noun, and there's nothing on the first letter of the noun. So there's no change there. So anfar, an quinin. But it ends in I for the N, right? The next bit then, the tishaginach, tasron on remains as on, quinin, the H goes in, but the I for the N at the end doesn't change. Nothing happens at the end. So this is very important. Remember, we always have 3 changes as a minimum to look at, or 3 steps, 3 came as a minimum to look at when we're talking about masculine in the tishaginach. So first step is on remains as on, that's good. Second step, you put in a H if possible, shevu if possible, a masculine noun. Sees a letter that can take it, and then you make the changes at the ending where required. Now, I for the N just remains as it is. So basically, if something ends in I for the N, its tishaginach version is going to be I for the N. In other words, no change. And that is the most common feature of this declension, no change. And if you can get your head around that makes a big, big difference. Okay? So let's look at a few more. Sampla do. In this case, achtra. As you can see here, it ends on a vowel, but it's feminine. In its genitive singular, the tilde tells you it doesn't change, right? So going back to our previous one, the key thing we learned is that I for the ends, they don't change. And if you look here, this ends in a simple vowel A. It's not going to change either. So let's just look at how it works out. So ta an achtra begins with a vowel, so there's nothing before it in tish anamnach. Ta nachtra shin hartanish. Ig tusna hachta at the start of the event. Okay, so let's look at this first of all. On goes to na because it's feminine. Second change, you put the H in, right? Always essential. And then finally, there's nothing about slendering in the middle or anything like that. But at the end, you can see there's no change again. Right? So the predominant feature of this declension is that for this third step, there's no change at the end. Now, buske then. This time, again, it's masculine. Genitive singular, there's no change. So, ta on buske, there's no H here. And it's tishamnach, very simple. Ni malum da an voska. So, I don't like the colour of the box. Step 1, on remains as on. Step 2, you put in the H, if you can do it. And step 3, came at 3. No change at the end. So again, no change. And both of those examples, if you look at it, achtra and buske, both of these nouns ended on an A, on a vowel. One was masculine, one was feminine. So just because something maybe looks like it is masculine or looks like it is feminine doesn't necessarily mean it is. And that is why using dictionaries are so important in your writing, to be able to work out what something definitely is, you know. I use the dictionary every single day, guys. I'm at this for 20 years. Every single day I use the dictionary to check the gender of a word, because that is the process. You simply become used to that. Now, from a Leaving Cert's point of view, do you need to know every single possible word that you're going to write down and have it right? No. The reason we're doing this entire process is to improve our general accuracy, and the key word there is general accuracy. You will never have every single possible word covered perfectly, so you know, you just got to go with it and do the best you can. But this particular declension causes problems because people are always expecting changes, and what I'm showing you today is there's an entire group of words here, Ceathrú Díochlaonadh, that don't change effectively, right? Next bit, shomra. So, Tan Shomra Dunta, everyone knows the word. It's masculine. Okay, so nothing comes before it normally. Vishe Eglana an Chomra. Right? So, on remains as on. On remains as on. Tishaginuk. He was cleaning the room. The cleaning, the ing verb. Anam Brihira caused it to go into Tishaginuk. Second step. We can't put a H and an S, but what we do is put a T before it. And then the final bit, there's no change. So, 3 steps again. No change. We have seen 4 examples, guys. Not a single one of them have changed, right? So hopefully we can see this pattern. And then finally, sampla a quig tina ta and tina sechisten, right? The fire is in the kitchen, dead simple. Ta she glasa, again the ing verb, cause it to go into tishaginuk. But this one is feminine. So what happens? On changes to na religiously in the tishaginuk iver uha. Second bit. Can't put anything on a T or a D as we've seen before. So that remains the same. And then the E here, no change. Now guys, the only change here, was to the definite article, right? So on went to na, that was it. Now you might say, my God, that's such a simple thing. And it is a very simple thing. But that accuracy is the kind of thing that you'll be looking for. And there's some examples now in a few moments that you all know very well, that, you know, if I saw them written incorrectly, I'd say that's a very poor mistake to make. So having an awareness of this is so important. All right, let's go to the next bit then, guys. So we've got a couple of examples, bit of interactive work for you here now, guys. So I can bring up the chat and we can look at what the answers are here. Okay, so feel free to start throwing in a few answers here. Now, obviously, anybody who has the notes has the answers in front of them, so I'd appreciate if they maybe didn't put in the answers. But if you didn't have the notes in front of you, what would you do here? Now, you should see that there's a pattern, obviously, and the pattern is, thus far, the pattern is that there's no changes. So I'm not going to try and fool you here. There aren't changes with these words to the end of the word, but there are changes required in nearly all of them at the start. So all these are masculine, right? Every single one of these is masculine. So you should know, if you're here long enough, you should know at this stage that we're talking about keeping on as on in every case in the masculine tishaginuk iveruha, right? If we're talking about a feminine one, there's obviously going to be changes there, but here it's masculine. So what's going to happen? So the box, filling in the box, the dog, owner of the dog, the bag, opening the bag, the breakfast, eating the breakfast, the girl's dress, In this case, the garden, the fair is the grass. Now, there's one really important thing here for me, and that is the word Colleen. I've mentioned before, in Irish, the word Colleen is a masculine word. It ends in I for the N, and Gordine is another example of I for the N. So we're trying to remember this declension as, or we're symbolizing it with I for the N, right? So there's two great ones to remember, Colleen and Gordine. And if you can remember these two, it'll make a big difference to you hopefully going forward. Then on Tilbury, the worker, Luach is value, so the value of the worker. On Zlee, the law, Ceathrú, overcoming, or in other words, breaking the law. On Droling, the Ren, Nad, Nest, etc. So you've got all these different examples here, and I'm looking at some of them coming up here now on the board. Fair and Gordine, right? So there's a good few people getting them right. Again, Vic Foster, good, Unar and Vadra. So we're definitely making progress here, guys. People are getting these. Now, I have to be honest with you, for a lot of people, once you get this declension, it's actually the easiest one the whole lot to do, because you don't have these changes at the end to deal with. By and large, all the changes are simply to do with an Todd's Kinta, the definite article, agus an chéad litter, den animachal, the first letter of the noun. So if you're able to kind of get your head around that, that makes a big difference. All right, so we're making a huge difference. Now, great one here for Galileo, Irish nationalism and sovereignty. That's a great name to have. Can I just point out that one there? Ceathrú on Dli. You put in a DH there, right? And the reason I always pick up on this one is with D and T in the Tisha Ginnerach, Iver Uha, you always put in, you never put in H or Shevu, right? So you've got two there, Ceathrú on Dli, and the next one, Nad on Droling. Neither of them require a H, okay? Whereas a letter like C, and you have it correct there, is Kunte, Timpel on Chunte is correct. So hopefully you've got that. Then the next one, Glóra Naurani, excellent. So fair on Gordine, G is a letter that takes it as well. So we've got a lot of people getting these right. Guna on Chalin, very good, Kevin, right? So the H goes in, and Galileo, there's few people getting these perfect. So let me just show you the answers now. And if we just take a look here, sorry, I'll bring back up the iPad. So if we take a look at these very, very quickly, they're straightforward enough. Eglina on Voske, put the H on the B, the A doesn't change. All the ons remain the same, so I don't need to repeat that down long. Put the on, and then put in the H and the A. So Madra and Boske, if you see the two of them, they're very similar, aren't they? So a B and an M can both take them. Mala again, so ending in A, it's a very, very common type of ending as masculine, but they can be feminine as well. Don't forget with Actra. So on remains on, the H goes in. So there's three very simple examples, the first three. Tasha Gihan Vrit Fosta, okay, it's the A at the end. Guna on Chalin, so this is the first I for N, that's very important. On remains is on, you put in the H, and I for N never changes. Tafer on Gordine, on remains is on, the H goes in, I for N doesn't change. The next one, Ibri, what happens is you drop the T hyphen. If you come over here to the left hand side, you drop the T hyphen, and Ifada doesn't change, on remains is on. Ceathrú on Zli, so the D can't take the H, all right, if that makes sense. So that's where we want to be with that. So Nad on Droling, another D example, doesn't change. Timpel on Hunte, the C can take it. Glóra Naurani, same as Ibri, T hyphen gets dropped if it's masculine. Tisha Ginnerach, A Ifada can't change. On Fiapa, pipe, okay, over here there's no H, it gets a H at Tisha Ginnerach because masculine. Igduna on Yata, again, no H here, but it gets a H in the Tisha Ginnerach. Now, this is the one, this next one. Has anyone got this one? Did anyone try to schnack the one? No. Right. Now, this is the one that catches everyone out. Gilla on Snachte. Everyone thinks, oh, you can't put a T before an SN, an SR, and SL. Well, you can. And you can do it S followed by any vowel. So, for Laurel and Taurig in the middle of the summer, right? You can do it. But here we're talking about something, the Ceathrú Díochlaonadh, right? So what's the change? So you've got Anshnachta. There was nothing before it normally. So that means it needs to get the T. right? And on remains is on, so the T goes in, and Schnachta ends in A there, can't change. All right, so very, very simple, but it's very different to look at, isn't it? So a droling is a wren. Okay, so Neil Tuirish an Kigra, so an Kigra, nothing here. Tuirish an Kigra Gamat. The inspector's report is not good. Neil Tuirish an Kigra Gamat. So, guys, if you just look at it here, right? So simple. It's not a big deal. You know, like you're not going to lose some massive amount of marks in your Leaving Cert because you didn't have a H on the word Kigra for any reason. But to me, this is not about that. It's about you having the confidence that when you're writing, that you know how to apply these rules. And when you see words like these and the similar endings to these, you know, forevermore, if it ends in I for N, you know almost certainly, well, with certainty, it is in the Tisha Ginadach, or sorry, it's in the Ceathrú Díochlaonadh, so it's Tisha Ginadach won't change. We are talking about singular, of course. The next one then, guys, let's take a look. Now, on Bonds Arkanshaw, the pink represents Buinishkinach. So if you look up here at the top, Tanda Keenshaw Galer, Buinishkinach, all of these are feminine. So again, the changes, I'm going to ask you to have a go at a few of them, like you didn't have the notes in front of you, if you don't mind. So Anagla, the fear, Kush, cause. So what would that be? The essay, writing the essay. Anaraga, this is a big one now for me, okay? I'll just put a little star on this because this is so important to remember this one, okay? Anaraga and Trasna, across. So we have a reference directly here, obviously, Sechursa, Doshin, Edir Nanog. On Timste, the accident, August Sieve. Sieve is site or location of something. On Lena, the shirt, and Da is colour, obviously. So what are we talking about? The colour of the shirt, obviously, we're looking at. So on Tina, lighting the fire. On Slee, so the way. Now, if you remember, we looked at an example with S that didn't have anything before it previously, but this does have it, because the same as ban on van with an S, you're going to have a T before it. So on Slee, that's why it's there. But what happens it? On Thraw, one we should all know very well, the word for Salt Hill in Irish. On Iha, or it could also be the Sea Road. On Ihid, the night. On Rawat, the choice. On Changa, the language. We have to know this one, guys. If we don't do something wrong. On Fela, the festival, during the festival. On Oiga, youth or the youth. On Vanaltra, one that you might be talking about possibly in your essays, if it was of course Idachush, the nurse. And then finally Anola Gaman O14, great one, very apt one to put in there today. Excellent. And Anola, the oil, what is that going to be, right? Okay, so let's see, can we get a few of these in, guys? We're getting them in. Good, Kevin, well done. That's great to see. You have that right, Kevin, bang on. Sheila, perfect as well. Glurug, now look back at the Schlee one. Kevin has it right there. Okay, so if it's okay, I'm just going to bring this one up. We had Kevin put in Glurug Nashley. We had Sheila originally went with Glurug Anschley. So what's the difference? Both of you have it absolutely correct. You've taken the, if I go back here to the iPad, I'll put it up on this. You've taken the Schlee bit and you've dropped the T, which is good. Okay, so if we just look at this one, right? What you've done is you've both dropped the T before it. Okay, so that's great. But what we need to do is put in a glurg na, right? Schlees. Why? Because they're all feminine. On always goes to na, feminine, tishaginaruk, ivruha. Dead simple, right? So, mahu, that's the phrase. All right, Sheila. So, hopefully then you've kind of been able to see that most of these are reasonably simple again to change. The key feature, as you can see, every single one of these on changes to na. Why? Because they are buinishkinach, they are feminine. On changes to na. Now, I just see a mistake. My God, that's a shocker. In my notes, that should be lasa natina. Glur nashli, natra, fag nahiha, na rawa. Lauert na changa, remember saying everyone should know that, speaking the language, rit na fela during the festival, son na hoige, at the rare na bantra, and horn na hulla. So they're the very obvious changes where Buninshkanuk on goes to na. But if we take a look then, what are the changes with a vowel? There was nothing here normally, but now it's got a H. On Ashta, vowel, nothing normally, gets a H. On Arga, this is the big one if you remember. Everyone should know this phrase, Trasna and Farga. Now, why do I say that's a big one? If you were to write down Trasna on Arga in your Oisin na Dir na Nog response, to me that impression, that gives a very poor impression. Because an Arga is a phrase we all know since primary school, Trasna and Farga, right? And Oisin na Dir na Nog, it's such a central part to it. So to make that kind of a grammatical error will cost you marks from an impression point of view, no question. In terms of Gaeilge and accuracy, it definitely costs you marks. So you've got to look at something like that and say, right, I do need to know this. This is the justification for knowing it. But for me, it's all about impression. If someone writes down Trasna on Arga, or worse, Trasna on Farga, that to me is just sloppy, is clear indication that the person doesn't know their grammar. And immediately, no matter how you go about, we're all human, as an examiner, that's going to have an impact on the way you mark the student's work. Don Elena, even though it looks wrong, it's right. Lena begins with an L, so the dentals, as we call them, the DNTLS, there's all sorts of issues around those letters, but you can't put a H on an L, so it is correct always. Iglurgna Shli, seeking the way. Bohar Tra, again D and T you can't change. Fagna Hiha, one we all know very well, on Iha, or Fagna Hiha. Gets the H because it's feminine. Begins with a vowel, or again, can't do anything with an or, but it is correct. Nachanga, D and T, same rule. Nafeli, you drop the H. Okay, now I see another mistake over here in my notes, sorry. On Ayla, that should be. So Rit Nafela, so I hope I haven't put anyone off there. The next one, Oige, yes, is Buninshkanuk, yeah. Or Son na Hoige. If you look over here on Oige, or Son na Hoige, yeah. Maybe you're mixing that up with the phrase Mull on Oige. If you actually just think about the Shanukal, it's Mull on Oige, isn't it? It's not Mull on Toige. Okay, so Mull on Oige. Or Son na Hoige for the youths. Kylo A. Derer na Bantra, he died according to the nurse. Drop the H and the B. And the last one, same thing as before. On Ulla, doesn't have anything. It needs a H. And the A doesn't change. So what we can see is essentially, guys, with all these, there's 3 steps, isn't there? There's 3 steps. And that's what you've got to keep in your head the whole time. This Ceathrú Díochlaonadh. It's different to Dar Díochlaonadh, for example. All right. Okay, so we're coming towards the final round, I suppose, if you like. So let's go through a couple of examples here. Cúpla ceacht más féidir. So what I've tried to do here, again, is give you the key information. If I go back to my old friend, Seamus O'Coulon, August Dosha, Piukamach an Ashnesh. So pick out what's the information here, what's the evidence, what's the key I suppose traits that tell you what you need to know. I don't need to tell you whether these are masculine or feminine, any of them, guys. And all the information you need is actually in there. So if you've been paying attention over the last 3 or 4 lessons, you will know which gender these are, masculine or feminine. Therefore, you should be able to make the changes. So on Ceacht and Díochlaonadh, the challenge you have is to see, can you now translate a few of these very quickly. Just put in the version. You don't need that. Well, you can write in the full version. So, for example, the first one is fag na hiha. Okay, so fag na hiha is the first answer. So, what would the rest of these be? Very quickly, guys. Quick fire into our chat here, and let's see what we come up with. So, on K count, fag na hiha. On iha tells you it's feminine. There was nothing before it. If it was masculine, it would have to have a T hyphen. So feminine with nothing before it, it tells you it in itself. On iha shin, harla share on iha shin. We'd all know the phrase on iha. A fag. So Revoka Kohitcha cause it to go into Tishaginok. What happens? On changes to Na, the H needs to go in, and then finally at the end with the Ceathrú Díochlaonadh, nothing happens, no change. Okay, so we've got a few coming in here. We're finding here, good. And let's see what the answers are coming up on the board. So, our son na sloncha. Let me just take the first one, sorry. The rare on iskra. Okay, very good. So you've got that one right. Our son na sloncha. On the wa hila. We're doing good here on sloncha. On goes to na. And another one or two there, guys. So I'll just correct them as they're coming in here. So basically on T script, the T hyphen tells you it's mass, and so on remains as on. You drop the T hyphen and the IRE doesn't change. Okay, the rare and iskra, so we have that one correct. The next one, our son on sláinte, it normally has a T. That means it tells you it's feminine. On changes it to na. You drop the T. The rare na sláinte in the end doesn't change. So the rare na sláinte, well done. Very good. Shana she partners a twos na. So on Tirsha, I'm looking for to see has anyone got that. Okay, Hrid and Piersach, our son na Sirsha, very good. So on Tirsha, very same. These two are the very same properties. So on changes to na. You drop the T and the E won't change here at the end. Very good. Our son, and then the last one, Ectus. On Ela, it would be Ectus na Fela. Alright, so we're doing good there, guys. I think you have a pretty decent handle on this. Just we can see for anyone who can't see it in the chat. For any reason, if it's not coming up on your phone, people are writing in the answers there. So we're doing pretty well. I'm happy with that. Let's go into a slightly more challenging one now. Let's see what people know here. And this is a very, very straightforward one if you ask me. The very first one, because every single person who's in here, certainly at Ard level, if you don't get this one, or if you wrote this one incorrectly in an exam, you definitely need to have a strong look at yourself, because it's one that just really would be very, very, very poor mistake to make. So what are we looking at here? First one. I'm assuming everyone's going to get the first one. Okay. So Chulamean Tuchtron Iglart and then on Gaeilge. So I heard the president speaking and we're using the phrase the Irish language. So if you were to say this one incorrectly or write it incorrectly, let's say you're talking about Tábhacht na Gaeltachta or Tábhacht na Gaeilge or something like that. I've kind of just given you the answer there now anyway, because that's Tishaginok too. Good, right? So we have that one right in the Gaeilge. Everyone has it, hopefully. So on changes to na and you drop the H and you can see like sláinte, etc. Gaeilge doesn't change. All right. And the next one is putzine. If you don't know what putzine is, you need to go and find out. Neil Tobin, Lord rest him, had a famous movie about it many years ago. So drinking the putzine. Okay. On fitting. Very good. So on remains is on. P can take a H and I for N doesn't change. We've learned Colin, Gordon, etc. None of them change. Kate Cownella. So every parent in this country is against immigration. So what are we talking about? Because there's nothing in front of it, we know that it is Buninshkanuk. Okay, so on changes to na himmerka, right? And the so on change to na, first step, second step, H goes in, IRCE doesn't change. Next one, Durleshkan Dulanaka on Honra. Tells you it's feminine, so Anaka Nakonra, drop the H and the RA doesn't change. And the last one, we saw this already, Teresh na Hachtre, should have seen that earlier on and hopefully know it. Alright, on Wa, Himrick, very good working on the ball there. Excellent, so we're going good here, guys. We'll very quickly move on to the last two then. So in K Count and Shaw, Vishay Gimmer Pella Ire. So this is one you probably know already, and I have it up here specifically because there's very little on it that's going to tell you what it is. We've seen a number of different versions of these endings. You know, if something ends in A or an E or anything like that, there can be issues around masculine, feminine. So this is where, for example, I would always take out my dictionary if I'm even remotely unclear. If I'm writing something, with doing an essay or doing some analysis piece or whatever it might be, or even just correcting some student work, I will always go and check my dictionary. So what are we going to do with Tránóna, guys? That's what I'm interested to find out here. Again, if you have the notes, yeah, Sinead Goodírach Martin Ganahrú, well done, on the ball. Okay, so Martin has it there. He says Ganahrú. Yeah, there's no change. And that is a very, very important thing to write down. So an Ceann seo is Ganahrú. It's without any change of any kind, right? On remains as on. Can't make any change here. Can't make any change here. So this is one of these situations where in the Díochlaonadh, literally nothing changes. And for a lot of people, that they can't get their head around that, because everything we've been doing up until now pretty much has been based upon the idea that there's changes. You know, you look at step 1, 2 and 3 and there's nearly always something changes. Well, there are situations where the actual, you know, the metrics in front of you, the finisher, the evidence right in front, or, you know, fashion, should I say, right in front of you, tells you that you don't need to make any changes. So you've got to trust it, okay? So, bhí sé gimmert pelle I rihan Tránóna, tá súlgum go dtiocfaidh sé isteach I rit, so it's on béla, so there's no H here, right? So I rit on remains as on, it's masculine, rit on béla, right? And if you remember, one of the first things I told you is if it doesn't have something normally, it gets it in the Díochlaonadh. It's a great rule to try and remember to make your changes on the first letter of the noun. Níor hahan an turas trasna, everyone should know this now. Trasna farga. It's feminine. On goes to na, drop the H, can't change down here. Vi pictor crofter amala oskion on tina, so we already know it's na tina. Okay. And then the last one, near vein rod la rage oskor on dinner, and again it's a great example where nothing changes. So if you look at these two examples I've given you guys, right? Tránóna is one and dinner is another. There's no changes of any kind with either of them. All right, so that's again, there's a crucial bit of learning in that. There's a crucial lesson in that, because the temptation is to always change it. And a wording, I go back to her basic rule here the whole time. D and T, I've put in these two examples. No change ever. Doesn't matter what declension we're talking about. In the, don't forget, Díochlaonadh Guha, singular Díochlaonadh. Never, ever, 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 ever is there a change made to the letters D or T at the start of a noun. And what we try to remember is Dian on T. Okay? The roof of the house. That's the one we try and remember if you can. Okay? And I use that phrase specifically. Obviously, this Dian, the first noun, has nothing to do with it, but it makes you remember the D and the T, right? Dian on T. So if you can remember it like that, simple as, yeah. So Galileo, the D doesn't have a shave in Díochlaonadh, simple as, yeah. D and T, that's the point, and hopefully that makes sense at this stage. And then the last one, guys, Ceacht de Cahar. So an Sneachta, an Tíre, an Bharna, an Chora, agus Scalora. So what are these going to be? So if you're on Forkfoot Báte, the field was soaked, if you like, after the snow, right? So I've been using, you know, Turesh, these Révoca coach are great for doing this kind of stuff. So very simply, Sneachta, there's no T before it, that gives it away, so that'll help you. There is a T before Sira, that should help you straight away. If it's in Díochlaonadh, there is a H on Barna, think of Ban if you can. Cora, no H. And the last one's tricky enough kind of a one, Scalora. Now, I've put it in there because we've been looking at a lot of S's here, guys. All right, and I suppose the S's are a lesson perhaps all on their own, and no more than D and T possibly, but it's again, you have to use whatever evidence is in front of you to see can you get it right. So Schnachta here. What are we going with that, guys? Hopefully we have picked up on what it was from earlier on. I'm hoping you have. So Trish, if it's on Schnachta, it tells you that very simply it is a masculine, or sorry, it is a feminine word, right? So if you look at that, sorry, Schnachta is a masculine word. What am I saying? So if you look at it, it tells you it's a masculine word because there's nothing in front of it, right? So think of Sarah, on Sarah, there's no T in front of it. It's masculine. On Schnachta, there's no T in front of it. And the change we made then was Trish on Schnachta. Okay, after the snow. Okay. Then Kanshi Kupla Bruntanis, Ire. So if it's on Tira, that'll change to Ire Nasira. And then we've got Big Shade Lina Nabarna. So on Varna, can't change the end of it. Lilin on Chora becomes on, stays as on, needs a H, can't change it. And the last one, on Scalara, it's masculine, right? So it's going to be La Uber on Scalara. So like Tronona, we couldn't change it at all. All right. T in front's like Shaven Furness. Exactly. Yeah, that's it. Exactly. On our fad. So guys, Gurmila Magriv, loads of chat coming in here from different people today. Tassar job or fad dainta. You've done a great job altogether today. A Carulum. August. I'm willing cheist again. Has anyone got any questions that you want to ask here before we finish up? And we'll be back again on Thursday, don't forget. So we're doing some work on Oisín na Dír na Nóg on Thursday. And we'll be trying to, I suppose, nail down a few really essential bits about Oisín, because it's one of the things that a lot of people find quite tricky. So we're going to go through some essential information, and then on Friday there will be full sample answer on that. Tomorrow, for our subscribers, you might be wondering if we weren't covering a general thing today. Tomorrow I've a really high-end lesson for our subscribers, really top-end stuff on Hurlmabuk. So Hurlmabuk is one of the stories a lot of people are talking about, and I've had a lot of demand for information on that, a lot of requests to cover it. So I have a very detailed lesson. It's actually really simple. It's 60 key sentences that anybody who's planning to study Hurlmabuk should know. We're looking for 30 out of 30 in this section now. So if you have these sentences and you know what they are and you learn them, you'll be able to get all the marks, basically. So we looked at Hurlmabuk previously here. Again, subscribers have sample answer from 2017 or whatever it was. But we have a really in-depth look, or I take a really in-depth look at some of the key terminology. So it's like an additional revision lesson, and the beauty of it is it's summarized in 2 sheets. So you just print out 2 sheets and you've got all the information you could possibly need the night before the exam on it. So that's what's coming up tomorrow for our subscribers. On Thursday, as I say, we're going to take a look at Oisín Dír na Nóg's Achwimmer and Scale, the character. We're going to take a look at the story and some of the key characters. Agus an Ian Shin by Kesh Hamplach to be a sample answer or sample question, no Frager Samplach. So, Marwille in Kesh Agwiv. If you don't have any questions, I'm going to get moving on here. Loads of work still to do today. Agus Sula Dia Tagach Dinner Gwiv down the slanch. Agus Nisha Gober Ro Crua. Hope you're not working too hard. Ernoi Nilis again. Conas Maratá Corsi Galaraig Lesson Garon Virs Filaher. We don't know. Kerdi Yenig and Realtus. Can sort plana talko. Nisha Soler. Tasha Duller. It's unclear. I can win to show. Again, I'm kind of, coming glad to Ragas, Peobert holiday again, Asian and her Greek. Tá Kid Mila Falter Roy Galer. Agus Sula Diafek Mishib. And Kid lá ella an Déirdín. We'll be here on Thursday again ag Monday at 12 noon. Agus dóibh siúd atá teachtasteach tréis an cheachta seo. Whoever's coming in here after a lesson, you can of course go back over all the different YouTube videos that we have and try and catch up on whatever work needs to be done to get to the standard that some of the people in the class here are. Okay, so Gurmia Magwiv, Slong of Fold, Sula Dia Fekmishiv are on Déirdín. I have to just try and remember. On Fihu Rang, right, the 20th class that we've delivered live since this coronavirus has come down and upset the apple cart for us. 20th class live, and we'll be here every week live up until the beginning of June. I will be doing a session, by the way, with our subscribers, or making a session available to do a live Zoom session tutorial. As I said, there'll be an email going out later in the week about that. So we're willing Kesha Gwiv, guys. If you don't have any other questions, Shine Sulagum Gavek Mishiv and Déirdín Agus Gurmia Magwiv. Don't forget, let people know who we are, where we are, and Beme Arash and Déirdín Slán go fóling Gurmia Magwiv.